example, to ask TERS to give, if city council members are not giving. It's very difficult, for example, to ask police and fire municipal workers to reform their pension and retirement system if, we are not stepping forward. So I know those will be very delicate conversations, but I am hopeful that when we take a look at this, now, let me just say, the city cannot afford an additional downgrade in its credit rating. It cannot. It cannot. TERS lose if the city's credit is downgraded. They lose. You can win holding on to what you got, but you will lose. If the city's credit rating is downgraded, we all lose, and it will cost us more dollars. Those are the realities. I didn't set it. I inherited it, but I am not prepared to pass the budget down the road. We are going to fix the problems here. This is where the bucket stops. And I'm asking people to make some tough calls, some tough decisions. It is what it is. But the city's credit rating must be maintained, and it must go back up. Okay, it has to go back up. And that's why in this budget, the fund balance remain at a minimum of 9.2, and my hope is that it can go above 10. That's why we will work to eliminate non-recurring items where we are depending on in this cycle to balance the budget. Okay. But more than anything is that the credit rating in the city must go up, and in order for that to happen, we have to address some serious structural deficiencies, and we have to balance the budget. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to jump up and down over this proposal. I'm not saying that. And I understand that. But if you can come up with something that's better, I'm all ears. But if you can't come up with anything that's better, that balances the books and maintains the core essential services to the city, then I think this is what we need to vote for. And this is a budget in which I have been at the table and have worked every line of it along with the staff. And we have drilled down into every department. We've eliminated many of the silos. We have streamlined operations. And we are adding more police because public safety is a critical component. We are adding more police. And I do want to underscore that in the last 10 years, we have had fewer police and not more. With this budget and what the actions that we have already taken, when you talk to the HPD and you talk to the chief financial person at HPD, he will tell you that for the first time in a long time, the number of police officers in the city of Houston is starting to go up. And that is a major accomplishment. And we're doing it and maintaining and enhancing it in this particular budget. So from my vantage point, even though some, that you can always, you'll be able to criticize any budget, but when you're considering a $160 million shortfall, assuming the worst, I believe this is a pretty good budget that is based on shared sacrifice and asking everybody to give.
Mayor, combining the money pulled out of the churches with, it looks like 13 that would not be transferred to Rebuild Houston, that's 30+ million that will not go to capital spending in the budget. Are you
no capital project has been eliminated. The commitment to Rebuild Houston is maintained. It's the 11.8% equivalent that is in the budget. Rebuild, and let me be very clear, the commitment to Rebuild Houston has been maintained, and this is just the budget. No capital program has been eliminated, not at all.
Well, but there's 13.5 million less being transferred than...
Because your property, the property values have gone down. And so it is what the law requires is the 11.8% equivalent. Well, you can't maintain it if the property values are going down. The tax rate is going down. To try to maintain the same monetary amount is more than what is called for. So we'll maintain the equivalent. And that's why it's listed as a non-recurring item. So, but no capital project, Rebuild Houston, has been affected.
Are you not concerned though with those two together, since TERS do a lot of capital work, that it would perhaps delay projects, if not in this coming year, then in the future?
We have talked with all of the affected TERS. They are comfortable with this situation. No project has been delayed. Any TERS that's relying on monies coming in for their debt service are not impacted at all. If at the very worst, a project may be delayed by, let's say from 2017 to 2018, at the very worst. But the net effect, Mike, is that when you're facing $160 million, I can't print money. It's not falling from the sky. And I think that's what people have to understand. You cannot assume that everything is going to remain the same when you're facing $160 million a shortfall.
One other question on the TERS side, are you concerned that some people might view that as an attempt to get around the revenue?
No, because I want the revenue. Well, let me not make news on that, because I don't want to lose my support here. No, but the reality is they are exempted from the revenue cap. They are exempted from the revenue cap.
Well, but I mean, so because they're exempt, getting more money out of these exempt entities and into the general fund, are you concerned that some people might see that as a way to get around the revenue?
No, I'm asking them to pay their share portion of the city's costs. I'm asking them to pay their share. And I'm saying to them is that just because you're in a TERS doesn't mean that you ought to pay less, and people outside the TERS ought to supplement your added costs, city costs. Just pay your share of the cost. And when you're paying your share of the cost, it comes up to an additional $19 million that you owe the city for city services that we have provided to you. There's nothing wrong with that. And we have talked with them. There have been many conversations with them. And unless they're saying something that I'm not hearing, I think they're on board with it.
So, Mayor,
And it provides, if I can just say this at one, and it provides added transparency even as it relates to the TERS.
One last question for me. You mentioned going from 4 to 5 police cadet classes.
Yes.
I guess the academy can hold 7 in a year. I mean, obviously there are a lot of challenges on there, but could you comment on, the decision to increase to 5 but not find the money to go all the way to 7?
Mike, if I could have gone to 7, I would have. The reality is that we're not just staying at 4, we're increasing it. And we are restructuring. There's some restructuring that's taking place within HPD to put more police officers on the street, even as existing personnel. I mean, the shortfall is what it is. There are no layoffs of HPD. There are no layoffs of civilians, because when you start laying off civilians, they're going to be backfilled with police. So there are no layoffs there. When you compare 2011 to what took place to what we are proposing, in 2011, the budgetary shortfall was $100 million. 719 people, city employees, were laid off. And this shortfall is $160 million. We're eliminating 54 vacant positions, and less than 40 people will be laid off. And no classified police officers, and no civilians. And in fact, we're adding a cadet class. So in terms of the people's interests and the people's priorities, I think this budget reflects their priorities. Now, I wish I could do more. And hopefully, once we resolve the unfunded pension liability issue at the end of this year, and I'm just going to speak it in existence that we're going to get it resolved, because this budget also looks at 2018, and what I've said to others is that if we don't get it resolved, then the face of this budget is going to change in 2018. It's going to change. So we have to get it resolved, and I'm going to assume we're going to get it resolved. This budget shows our good faith to employees and others that we are doing our level best. We need you in the city. We appreciate your service. We're not laying you off, but come to the table and work with, in this case, not just with me, but work with the city. But this budget demonstrates our good faith to every employee in the city, police and fire municipal workers, that we value contribution and that we want you to stay here with the city of Houston. And this is us coming to the table, and now I'm asking you to meet me at the table and get this issue resolved at the end of the year.
So Mayor, that 1,235 number really pops out there, those possible layoffs. Are you saying that if you can't get that resolved, we're looking at layoffs on that level next year?
In 2018, yes, those are the realities. Not only are you looking at, and it may be more, because bear in mind, if the credit rating for the city is hit, it's going to cost us more. This is my close to fourth month this May. I'm coming in midway in a fiscal year, when 6 months of the budget has already been expended. I have less than 6 months to balance a huge budgetary shortfall. You know, we have done it, but we've had to rely on recurring and non-recurring items to get it done. And at the same time, we've got some big issues that are still looming in front of us. This budget recognizes that, but it's also saying, within the documents themselves, is that if we don't resolve, for example, some of the bigger issues, then you can't expect the same machinations that were used to balance this budget to be used in 2018. So it's my hope that some of the structural issues will be dealt with in 2018 as we move forward. I'm hoping that not only will the employee stakeholder groups, but also the Great Houston Partnership and the business community will work with us as well.
Hey, Mayor, I'm sorry, I have a non-budget question, so go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, you have non-budget question? Oh, sorry.
Well,
Go right ahead, Maya, I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. I was wondering two things, but one is, speaking of money, were you aware of there's, I guess, a SAP or a computer issue and some city employees didn't get paid and they're like freaking out? Could you comment on that?
Yeah, there was a human error issue on yesterday. I think one of the employees, it was human error issue in inputting information, missed including everyone. And then I think the employee tried to go back and couldn't go back. And so that created a problem in process for the direct deposits. You know, today is payday, but you know, the way it system works, with direct deposits, money shows up in people's account like the day before, and we were hoping